And I'm passionate about producing new knowledge and producing new research, and really it's a sparkle that I see in people's eyes when I engage with them, when we talk, when we problem solve. That's what keeps me going.
This morning is Reem El Sherif, a seasoned strategist and socioeconomic developer with nearly a decade of experience in corporate strategy, national strategy, and research. She currently leads strategy at RMB Namibia, one of the leading Pan-African corporate and investment banks. She is a PhD candidate in development at the University of Stellenbosch. She also holds a master's degree in finance from the University of Leicester and a bachelor's with honors from the British University in Egypt, validated by Loughborough University in the UK. Outside an exceptional career, Reem is an avid traveler and loves to experience other cultures, and a huge foodie. She also enjoys the mindfulness of yoga and the adrenaline of high-intensity training. A bit of a mouthful there. Good morning, Reem. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
We really appreciate your time, which is very valuable. You're not going to be billing us, are you?
No, I mean, it depends.
Tell us a bit about your childhood, who you are, how that shaped the woman that you are today.
Yeah, no, first of all, thank you so much for having me.
Right.
So my parents moved to Namibia in the early 90s. So I was raised here, but I'm obviously Egyptian by descent, and I was born there. I'm not a fan of labels, and things like that, and economist, and immigrant, and so on.
Right.
But there was always this tug of war between the culture and the values that you're born in versus the culture and the values that you're raised in.
Right.
But I'm very grateful to have been raised in a household that allowed me to explore, that gave me all the liberation that I needed, and allowed me to experience different things as well. But it also kept me connected to my ancestors, if you'd like to say. So that really shaped who I am, because it kept me grounded in my values. And you sort of learn and you self-teach yourself disciplined, basically. Right. And you stay convicted, and that really served me well as I grew up, and served me well in my early career, because you really learn the skill to filter out what's right for you, what's right for your personality, what's right for your values and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'm also very grateful for the sacrifices that my parents made to give my brother and I the best education that we could have. And I was privileged enough to attend one of the best schools here in Windhoek.
Right.
And beyond just the basic education and subjects like math and science and blah blah blah, we really learned life.
Right.
We learned how to have deep conversations. We learned how to deal with different people from different backgrounds and different cultures. And now the best leaders are those that they don't only introduce diversity into an entity, but they know how to manage it. They know how to shape their teams in a diverse way for the best outcome of the entity or the organization.
Right.
But we also we used to pick up litter every single day or every week. We used to learn about energy efficiency, and now the world is talking about ESG. So I'm very grateful for that.
When you were a kid, were you a handful or two? If I call you father today, I'm like, was she a problem child? What do you think you would say?
The perks of being the youngest sibling is that you get to see what the older sibling is doing. You're like, maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe I should do it, but hide it.
Yeah, you can get away with a lot of things.
But I was very strong-minded, and I was very argumentative. I still am argumentative. Go put that in the cupboard. I'm like, why? I was that type of.
You were that kind of baby.
I was that kind of baby. I always love to ask why, and people get uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, which is good. I think we should get comfortable with asking why. Somebody said do something. Why?
Why do you want me to do it?
Yeah. So as a budding little girl, what was your biggest dream when you were growing up? What was that one thing to oh my word, this is something that I wanted to do?
Yeah. When they used to ask 5-year-olds what they want to be when they grow up.
Right.
I never had an answer to that. And I look at my peers being I want to be a doctor, I want to be a policeman, and I look at them funny do you really at 5 years old?
No.
I never had an answer. I didn't have a profession in mind. and it's not because of like lack of ambition, but it's just because I had a different vision for myself. So I envisioned myself to be a very influential woman that will walk in very important corridors and will solve very important world challenges.
Right.
So that's sort of what I envisioned for myself, and it's really like all in the how. Like how do you manifest this vision? And you know, growing up, I was surrounded by like many calamities. I mean, every day we would read and hear the news about the apartheid in Palestine or the war in Iraq. You know, I'd see poverty and inequality everywhere, and I thought, you know, this cannot be life.
Right.
And like I mentioned, it was all in the how. So knowing what's happening in my environment, what is my role in this? How can I influence and have a positive impact? And so first I thought, you know, academia is the right way to go.
Yeah.
I want to influence young minds. And which was great. It served me really well. Like I really enjoyed it. I'm still in contact with some of my students and they still touch base with me. And even as like that part of my life ended, you know, I really felt that I made a great impact on them. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to an international organization because that's where they do it. That's where the real change happens.
Right.
And then I moved to an international organization for a short like stint, and it was exceptional. It was amazing exposure. And that's where you start to really learn and dig about what's sustainability, you know, how do worlds and economies go about it. And it was an exceptional, you know, time in my life. But then, you know, I'm always looking for that extra challenge. And I was like, you know what, let me go into the real economy because that's where the real problem solving happens. And so far, you know, it's working for me.
Yeah.
But in essence, in all of that, just to manifest that vision of being an influential woman, I decided back in the day that I'm going to study business and finance.
Right.
Because I felt that beyond just traditional, you know, organizations making profit, I felt that organizations had a bigger purpose in the economies that they operate in. And I'm not passionate about like how, you know, finance, how, you know, the stock changes move or the stock markets move and etc. But I'm passionate about how finance drives economic development.
Yeah.
And I'm passionate about producing new knowledge and producing new research, and really it's the sparkle that I see in people's eyes when I engage with them, when we talk, when we problem solve. You know, that's what keeps me like going.
Before we go to the music, just one question: what's that one thing people get wrong about you?
That's a difficult question.
Yeah.
But I think initially people get the impression that I'm quiet. And that, you know, I'm not to say that I'm a difficult personality but, you know, people, when I challenge them, they get surprised. Yeah, they get surprised.
Let's listen to Thames sing Damages and we get back to find out what sets Reem's life or heart on fire. 99 FM, your favorite radio station. Continuing with our Royal Hustler this morning, and we're joined by Reem El Sherif. She is an absolute phenomenal woman, doing the absolute most. Now, Reem, before we went to the musical break, quote unquote, I was told not to say that. Boss is not going to be happy. You know, we touched a bit on what people tend to get wrong about you, and it's that being challenged. Just to pivot a bit. When you wake up in the morning, what sets your heart on fire?
Sure, that's a very deep question.
Yeah.
For me, it's still that my self-defined purpose, that I want to influence positive change and positive impact. And it's still that vision that I had in my mind when I was a little girl that like keeps me going, and that's what like really wakes me up every day. Obviously in this cold it's very difficult, but we move. So I always keep the bigger picture in my mind, and I always listen to my inner child, you know. What did like little 5-year-old Reem want for herself? And that's what really gives me the kick. But you know, as as you experience new things, you also see, you know, what really energizes you. And for me, like I said earlier, it's seeing the little stars in people's eyes sparkle when I engage with them, when I produce new insights through my research, through my publications, or even when we're problem solving together. And, you know, because I believe so much in diversity, so it's just the notion of person A brings a different, you know, experience, and I bring a different experience, and that's how we unlock value and unlock potential.
We are running out of time. Just quickly, briefly, this is something that I did want to put to you. What are some of your early influences and just some people or circumstances or situations that really just influenced the life that you lead today?
Yeah, I guess I'm very lucky to have been associated with institutions where the people I worked with, they were great mentors, they were great coaches, they were even great sponsors. And they really impacted how I think about life. I was very lucky that they were open enough to transfer their knowledge and transfer their skills to me. And listen, like, no one's career path is a straight line. Like, mine was like a buzzing bee, you know? And so it's really those ups and downs in your experiences that really influence me and shape me. And I learned how to deal in different situations, whether positive or negative, deal with different psychologies as well. And I had exceptional exposure at such a young age, which I'm very grateful for, that allowed me to like develop and nurture my leadership. Before
we let you go, if there's a young woman and man listening to you right now, and you did touch a bit on it, and you preempted me a bit there, just expound on that. Any life or career advice you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, and I can write a book about it. But I think be open to learning.
Right.
Stay convicted in your vision and what you see for yourself. People told me all the time, you can't move from academia to corporate. And I was like, guess what? I did it.
Hold my beer.
Yeah. Opportunities come for those that pursue them. Nothing will ever be given to you at a silver platter.
Right.
Doors will open if you pursue them. Be realistic about your expectations. And really, your work ethics and your work values is what will differentiate you in this talent pool.
Absolutely beautiful. Reem, so sorry we don't have more time for you, but thank you so much for taking time out.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
That was Reem El Sherif, a seasoned strategist. She doesn't like labels very much, but we are going to give her flowers now. She's a seasoned strategist and socioeconomic developer with nearly a decade of experience in corporate strategy, national strategy, and research. She currently leads strategy at RMB Namibia, one of the leading Pan-African corporate and investment banks. She is a PhD candidate in development of the University of Stellenbosch. She also holds a master's degree in finance from the University of Leicester and a bachelor's with honors from the British University in Egypt, validated by Loughborough University in the UK. I know I did not say that one right. Reem, thank you so much. That was our last hustler for this morning.